We're going to start in on chapter 4, matrices. Yay! Yes. The beginning lesson, which is today's, is just pretty basic. It's learning the vocabulary of matrices, what matrices are, that kind of thing. And as we progress through the chapter, we're going to learn how to use matrices to help us solve things like 2 equations, 2 unknowns, 3 equations, 3 unknowns, 10 equations, 10 unknowns. It's possible. And graphing calculators and how to use the graphing calculator to do that. So it's a very cool tool, but you really need to understand what it is to start with, which is why we start there in section 1. So a matrix is represented, I'm just going to write one. With brackets. Okay, later in the chapter, we're going to learn about something with straight lines around numbers, and there is a difference. Okay, so a matrix must have the brackets where it goes in at the top and bottom. Okay, and matrices are identified by rows, the rows, number of rows, and number of columns. So those of you that have a hard time, Tristan, remembering what a row and what a column is, rows go out horizontally, columns are up and down. Okay, so this is a row, this is a row, this is a column. Okay, with me still? Okay, and matrices, when you identify the size or the dimension of a matrix, you always do row first, column second. Row first, column second. Okay, maybe a way to remember that. Alphabetical order would be C and then R, and we don't want it alphabetically. So matrices are not alphabetical. R, C. Maybe you can, I don't know, come up with whatever you need to remember rows are first, columns are second. So how many rows are in this matrix? 2. And how many columns? 4. So the dimension of this matrix is a 2 by 4. It's a 2 by 4 matrix. Okay, if matrices have the same number of rows and columns, 3 by 3, 4 by 4, 6 by 6, 2 by 2, they're called square matrices. Okay, or a square matrix, if it has the exact same dimension, row and column. If they have the exact same dimension and the same elements, and an element in a matrix is each individual number or letter. Sometimes they're letters. If they are the equivalent matrices, they have exactly the same dimensions and they have exactly the same elements. Okay, so this is a famous, these are the types of questions you might expect on an ACT. Okay. Let's do let's make this 3S. Okay, it wants you to find A, X, and S. And they tell you it's an equivalent or an equal matrix. So that means each element is equal to the same corresponding element in the other matrix. Okay, so if 3 is equal to X over 2, what's X? 6. If 2 plus A is equal to 4, what's A? 2. If 6 is equal to 3S, what's S? 2. That's a sample ACT test question right there. That you understand if it's an equivalent matrix, each element's equal to the corresponding element in the other matrix. Pretty easy. Okay. So these are called elements. Scroll down. These are all called elements. So this particular element would be, maybe I call it A, and I'm going to use 1, 1. That means first row, first column, I want the element that's in there. It looks really confusing, but if you understand what it means, it's actually not. I want the element that's in the first row, first column. So you tell me, what's the element that would be this?
-2.
Second row, third column, -2. Okay, so it looks complicated, but once you know what it means, it's really easy. Okay, so this section, we're just learning vocabulary of matrices, the dimensions that you always write rows and then columns, what a row is horizontal, columns vertical. If you want an element in a matrix, usually they'll write those two numbers below the element they want, and that first number is which row and the second number is which column. Okay, now on WebWork, I couldn't find what I wanted on WebWork problem sets that I usually use to give you questions on this. So I created an assignment. It says quiz, but that's just in Canvas. In order to create an assignment that has answers that automatically grade, you have to enter it as a quiz, but it's going in as a WebWork assignment. And you have 3 attempts. Okay, so you can go through it the first time, and if you don't get 100, you can go through it the second, and you can go through it a third, because on WebWork you get unlimited, right? So after the 3rd attempt, find me if you're still not getting the 100. Okay, but everybody, this stuff is not too tough. Yeah, so you should do okay. But it's not a quiz grade. It's a WebWork section 4.1 grade. It's going in as that. But it should automatically grade it for you and show you what you missed. And then you can go back in and try it again, and you can go back in and try it again. Okay? So, yes? You did that for the textbook check?
Do you want me to tell you my score?
Sure, what'd you get?
14, wasn't it? Yeah, I got 18.57.
Well, that's pretty good.
That's nice.
Okay, so you can take it again. Don't worry about the textbook check for you, but I'm going to go through it real quick just to review what we just talked about. All right? So this matrix would be considered a 4 by 3. True or false? False, because it's row. Good. It's rows and then columns. 3, 4. Good. If A12 means the element in the first row, first and second column of this matrix, what is A23?
-4.
-4. Second row, third column. Okay? Are these equal? The elements are equal, but what isn't equal? The dimensions. Right? What would this dimension be? How would you represent it?
1 by 3.
1 by 3. What's this one?
3 by 1.
3 by 1. Yeah. Make sense? Question 4. Matrices in which the number of rows equal the number of columns are called square matrices. And then was Mr. Witt the presenter? No. Questions? This section is not too hard, and then we're going to learn how to add and subtract matrices and multiply them and all of that as we progress through this chapter. Don't forget Chapter 2 test. I want everybody who wants to retake it to get an opportunity, so finish your Khan Academy.